Hello, stream. Oh, I forgot to turn on my camera. LOL, not that my face matters, but hi. It is Saturday, January 21st, and I need to do why won't you mute yourself? I need to do a game turn. So, let's get this over with. So, my last session of Apocalypse World was pretty crazy. I've identified some things that I want to work on moving forward. I think I've got an issue with pacing. It's very breakneck pace to the game right now. And I want to slow it down. I think part of that is only having 3 players. It gives everybody a lot of time to accomplish things. Um, and part of it is me not allowing time to pass in between scenes. So I think we're going to get done with whatever the hell is happening in the concert hall. And then probably have some time pass. But let's look at our threats. Some of these are not relevant. Some of these don't matter right now. But they're not unimportant enough for me to just X them out. So the candy shop didn't. We don't know the answer to any of these stakes questions. Yet it just like it came up, but it's not. Nothing's really happening here. Bob and Booty aren't feeling so charitable towards each other right now. If you could do that. Actually, this would be better as a stakes question. Let's move this to the side. I think Bob sabotage. I think Bob's gonna sabotage Booty. How about I don't know how to spell sabotage? No, maybe. Okay. But Bob's gone, and he might become his own threat later, but we'll see. The junkyard, we didn't see too much of. Yeah, the junkyard didn't really come up too much. So nothing to see there. If Booty goes to visit her new girlfriend Gramaguchi in the junkyard, then we'll see some business because the junkyard doesn't like her, but didn't really come up. The skeletons in the vivarium did ask Oler for a sacrifice. The next step is Oler gives the vivarium a body. And the next thing that will happen with this body, so they're growing something. And I think once this thing is grown, we'll be inevitably ticking down towards something. I'm not sure what this intermediary step is. Maybe they give Oler a body, but they're also going to need, they're going to need something else. Because just a body isn't good enough. But we don't know what that is yet. and we don't know what this thing wants to do. Well, it wants to leave people bereft, um, but we're not sure. Maybe it wants to destroy the subdivision. Who knows? So the Vivarium, we know what they demand from Molar. They demand a body. We don't know what they're growing. We don't know how they make the cats. We don't know if it's important that we know how they make the cats. But yeah, this this thing is has begun, but it's in the background. The Fast and the Furious are very different now. Um, the Fast and the Furious went to the city and they got fucking wrecked. Um, I don't even know. I don't even know if they're still a threat. I don't even know if they still exist. Rather, I think Rill might have been too careless with her cult. Um, are they still a thing? Even I know middleman. It might just be centrals left. Um, but they are very much. Let's make this super big. We don't know if they're really even still a thing. I think the city chewed them up. Um, but the centrals, they're still. The centrals are actually all still active. Um, Bullseye hasn't finished up the candy shop yet, so we don't know. We don't know a lot about Bullseye. We don't. We haven't answered any of these questions, and I think instead of how she's going to deal with the insurrection, the better question now is: are the Centrals Rill's new cult? Because the Fast and the Furious are very much not a thing anymore. Middleman is still around. She's injured, but Booty stabilized her. Centaur is dead but still active, and Bullseye is in La La Land. I think I think all of this stuff in the clock is different now. Because Bullseye still wants to speak to Rill, and the Centrals. Wow, Centrals become the new cult. Centrals become the new cult. Um, I think. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to punch my mic. And I'm not sure because the Centrals don't really have opposition because there's just Rill. A Hocus without a cult isn't even a Hocus. Um, so this is a question. It might be the case that Rill has to change playbooks. Rill might become a heart holder with the Centrals. She might choose to not be in charge of them at all. Shit, Rill might become a gunlugger. We don't know. But the Fast and the Furious are no more, so the opposition to the Centrals is no longer a thing. So it's no longer a countdown to open warfare in the subdivision. Um, I think the Centrals are anti-junkyard in Vivarium. Um, so we'll see about this. A lot of things are going to depend on what happens when this current city track is done. The Wolves of the Maelstrom. yeah, there's real. What real decides is going to make a big. It's going to be a big turning point in the game, I think. Um, what was in the maelstrom? Um, hmm. I think I think Rill's going to find out in the city while she's in the city. I think Rill's going to find out what she is. But again, it depends on whether she embraces it or doesn't. Like I have so many questions about Rill and what Rill is going to decide. That's hard for me to really see what the wolves are going to do. We'll come back to this threat. Let's make some decisions about the city because the city and Central Park are very important. So who maintains the screens? The screen heads do. We don't know who they are, but they're there. How did the traders get in and out? Is less important than what relationship or what deal has squares cut with the screen heads. The Fast and Furious don't bring anything back from the city because they're fucking dead, mostly, probably. Um, I think so. Are the screen heads? So we met three NPCs. We met a woman in a ball gown, a man in metal plating, and a man in aluminum foil. I'm tentatively calling them the Queen, the Knight, and the Squire, respectively. I think they have some very weirdly interpreted ideas of theater and like maybe Arthurian. They found some Arthurian something somewhere and turned it into something weird. But I don't know. I don't know if they are of the Maelstrom. I think they might be. I don't know if they're like directly part of the Maelstrom. Um, I think the city. I think the city and the Maelstrom aren't the same thing. The Central Park is the hub of the Maelstrom. The city is the thing. Maybe the city's trying to keep the Maelstrom contained. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think that might be. There's some interaction between the city and the Maelstrom, but I don't think the city is of the Maelstrom in the same way Central Park is. So our cast: the Queen, the Knight, the Squire. And this is currently a bit too big. Now it's a bit too small. So the Queen, the Knight, and the Squire are here in Concert Hall. Yeah, I think the relationship between the city, because the city surrounds Central Park, and I think it might be a cage. I think it might be a cage instead of defenses. I think it's a cage. So, oops, I didn't want to do that, but I did it, and it's fine. Yeah, could you open that? Um, so let's look at the kind of landscape, this is. I don't think it's a fortress. I think it's a prison. Now it's a prison, and it wants to contain, to deny egress. I think the city is a prison rather than a fortress. I think that's a more interesting choice. Yeah, I think the queen makes uh, Wolf of the Maelstrom noises, but I don't think she is one. I think I think she's a danger to Booty. I think she's trying to lure both Booty into something and Rill, for that matter. Um, I think the Queen has nefarious ideas for Rill and Booty, and contrary to appearances, Gramaguchi and Oler. I think Oler is. I think Oler baffles the Queen. And I think Gramaguchi seems like a threat because she protects Booty, but Gramaguchi isn't the Queen's ultimate enemy. I think the Queen is, but the Queen isn't a good guy. Let's not be confused. The Queen has some other nefarious something. Um, I don't think the Queen, the Knight, and the Squire are the screen heads. I think they protect themselves from the screens, or they're trying to, or they're trying to co-opt this. And I think the first tick here is the Queen makes a deal with a wolf. I think the Queen is going to have something to offer. Maybe not even with a wolf. I think the Queen wants to make a deal with Gramaguchi. I don't know what this deal is. Um, and this stakes question doesn't belong here. That belongs to the screen heads, who will make a threat for. Um, what does the Queen offer Gucci? And in exchange for what? I think maybe the Queen wants um, I think the Queen wants Gramaguchi to do something about the screens and to set herself in opposition to the screen heads who maintain them. But what does the Queen have to offer? Or what threats can the Queen leverage? Maybe the Queen threatens Booty. Maybe the Queen threatens Rill. What kind of leverage does the Queen have over Gucci? But I think the Queen wants Gucci to do something with the screens. But we shall see. A lot of things are going to depend on our next session. Central Park. We haven't seen it proper. Um, we don't know much about Central Park yet. We know that Central Park ate the Fast and the Furious. Um, ooh, here's a question. And I think the screen heads. Ooh, 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 ooh. We don't need to make a new threat for the screen heads. You know who the screen heads are? The screen heads have co-opted the Fast and the Furious. I think the Fast and the Furious were forcibly inducted into the screen heads. Yeah. So, these people are no longer part of this, but Dirt, Worm, and Stone are still part of this thing. And the Fast and the Furious are now known as the Screen Heads. Um, I swear this threat changes like every time I do a GM turn, but are they still a mob? I think they might actually ironically they might actually be a proper cult now. I think they're a proper cult. So they are a cult and their impulse is to victim. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What is happening? That was weird. Victimize and incorporate people. Yeah, I think the screenheads ate the Fast and the Furious. I think their connected threat is now Central Park. This sixth question is no longer relevant. This sixth question is they are a thing now. This is no longer relevant. So we'll see if the screenheads make an appearance. I think they. So the screenheads are trapped by the city. And I wonder how that works. How do the screens protect Central Park from the city? Maybe the screens are a way that the screenheads are able to move safely through the city. Um, Maybe there's some other threat in the city that the screens suppress. That the screenheads covertly move through the city and maintain all of these screens in this terrible news because why? Why? And how are the queen, the knight, and the squire, like what's the relationship here? Because the queen is anti screenheads. I think the queen is the queen of the city, and it is her task. She feels it's her task to keep the screenheads trapped. The screenheads and perforce the wolves of the maelstrom because they're also headquartered there. She wants to keep them trapped. So the screenheads are now very far to the east as well. So there's some sort of war here. Um, there's a war. There's conflict between the queen of the city and the screenheads. The screenheads are a front for the wolves of the maelstrom, and it's we'll see, we'll see. So like these three threats, the screenheads, the park, and the city are all interacting with each other. Rill is at the epicenter of this. Oler is also in the middle of it. Booty is involved in it, but Booty is a very passive participant. I think these three entities are really going to want to get control of Gramaguchi. They really want control of Gramaguchi, and they think Rill and Oler especially, think Oler is a way for them to get at Gramaguchi. Ooh, Sith Master is offering a move near the screens. Um, so I like that because this isn't really interesting. Um, but when and I'm just gonna steal that. If I hope you don't mind. Credit to Sith Master. When you open your mind to the Maelstrom in the presence of screens, first act under fire. Um, 10 plus, you open your brain. 7 9, 7 to 9, the screen heads find you. 6, or on a miss, the screen heads move you. So, so if you open your brain near the screens, act under fire. If you succeed, you open your brain as normal. I should put. At 7 to 9, the screen heads will find you and attack. On a miss, you get sucked into a screen, and the screen heads capture you. Um, and I should make clear 7 to 9. Open your brain, but there we go. There we go. I like that. So these 3 threats are working, and this isn't a city move. This is a move for the screen heads. And I think the queen is trying to disrupt this system that the screen heads are trying to protect. Ramaguchi and Real are going to be in the middle of that. And we'll see what happens. The park is just tempting. I don't think it's I think the interaction is mostly these 2 threats, the people involved in these 2 threats. So we'll see what the queen has to offer Gucci in order for Gucci to make a move against the screens. And we'll see what the screen heads have to offer Rill in order to do something about this queen. I think that's going to be the conflict. All right, just a couple. Square's the traitor. We met him, but he's not important right now. And the Fast and the Furious were very high in our last session, but they're also not. They're also kind of dead. I also think Squares. Originally, I had the traders as a warlord collector, but I think Squares is a grotesque. And I think Squares is specifically. Squares is. I think Squares might be. He's either a pain addict, a disease vector, because I like that idea. Except there's nobody in the subdivision anymore, so maybe that's not as important. So he's either a pain addict or a mindfucker. I think Squares rather than. I think he might be a mindfucker. I think Squares wants to rule the subdivision. So Squares is a mind fucker. And I think because the impulse is to crave mastery, or rather, craves mastery of the subdivision. I think Squares wants to come in, destabilize things, especially with the Fast and the Furious gone. I think if Rill doesn't partner up with Bullseye, I think Squares will. And Squares is closer in now than he was. So these stakes questions don't matter as much as they did. So, will Squares make a deal with Bullseye? Because if Rill doesn't take what Bullseye has to offer, Squares and Bullseye are going to partner up and try to take control of the subdivision. Speaking of which, the subdivision, people died in search of food. The Fast and the Furious got wrecked. I think the people that are left in the subdivision, which will be Middleman, Rill, Oler Booty. Well, Booty is in the candy shop, but she's Booty is on the border of a lot of things. So let's actually put these names down. Who's left? Middleman, Rill probably, Bullseye, um, Rill, Middleman, Bullseye, Oler. No, Oler's of the junkyard. Oler doesn't live in the subdivision. These are the people that we know about. Um, and maybe, oops, a miscellaneous group that we will merely call, for now, survivors. Um, I think the next step is because they still don't have food. They're gonna start eating each other, and or rather, I don't know why you're randomly copying things. What are you doing? Stop it. Failed raid on the junkyard, or or the candy shop. Candy's food, right? Candy is food. So I think they're gonna attack. They're gonna try and attack the candy shop. Um, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Um, okay. So this thing I haven't looked at in a while is our threat map. Um, so the Fast and Furious are now screen heads, and they're in Central Park. The Wolves of the Maelstrom have moved in, definitely. I think the Centrals have moved in too. The Traitors are now simply Squares. Squares is closer. The Skelly Hell is now called the Vivarium. They're still on the outskirts. Bob is now Bob's doing something else. Yeah. And I have some questions. What will Rill do without the Fast and Furious? Is going to be a big question. Who will Gucci side with between the screen heads and the queen? And another big question we have is who will Bullseye align with? These are kind of like the big pivotal questions. Like there's some alliances that are going to happen. And the question is who is going to side with who? Why? And what effect that'll have. That's kind of where we need to our relationship map is now. I've got a lot of pieces, and these pieces are going to start tying themselves together. And there are no right choices because everything leads to horrible, horrible shit. Because it's Apocalypse World, but we need to know how this is all going to spiral downward. Um, so if you've seen the most recent episode, you know that I have to do like a 72-hour work event. I won't be able to play next week, but the week after we should be back. Um, and we should have our full cast back, and we will be able to figure out what's going to happen in the concert hall. Um, and once that's done, I think we're going to have some time pass in the game to kind of slow down the pace a bit. Um, and kind of give some space for some of these alliances to develop. And there's one thing, and I think the remnants of the subdivision are going to. Once we get done with the concert hall, we need to figure out what the remnants of the Fast and the Furious what's gonna happen there. What is Real gonna do? What is Middleman gonna do? What is Bullseye and the Centrals? What are they gonna do? What's gonna happen to the subdivision? Many questions, and the answers will be found in session 4. Probably not, but we can try to get some answers in special session 4, which will be. Hold on, I have calendar. I can look at it. Not the 26th, but February 2nd will be our next session. So, thank you guys for joining me for this brief moment of reflection on my campaign. I feel like I have an idea of where things are going to start. I don't know where they're going to end. But yeah, the queen's going to offer Gucci something, either a carrot or a stick, and we're gonna see what Gucci does with that, and what Rill does now that her cult is basically completely destroyed. Yeah, so thank you guys. Thank you, Sith Master, for your inspiration on the screen move. I'm super into it. Uh, I really think it plays into like one doesn't simply go to the city and come back, and this is a big part of the reason why. So yeah, thanks if you want to follow me, see what I'm up to, see some amazing Nazi punching videos. Follow me at Trist_CHI. Throw me a follow on this channel. This will be up on YouTube later today for any of those that missed it. Anyway, have a good weekend. Goodbye. I'm going to miss you. Toodaloo.